How are we doing? Everybody feel good? Great, let's put our hands over our heads. Give me a little shimmy, go a little Broadway shimmy. Great, move your hands into your heart. Actually, you know what? Turn and look at somebody, say hello to somebody you don't know yet. I love it. I feel the energy, I feel the vibes. Now everybody put your hands in your heart. Close your eyes, settle into your seat. Maybe the sun gave me the power, for I could swim Loch Lomond and be home in half an hour. Maybe the air gave me the drive, for I'm all aglow and alive. What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love. All the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I would swear I was falling. I could swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love. Thank you for letting me sing to you. I'm watching the timer. I've been so impressed with this conference. I've traveled all over the United States for over 5 years. I've spoke at hundreds of stages, hundreds of events. I do a podcast, 205 stages. This is the best organized conference I've ever been to in my life. The details, the structure, and most importantly, the people. Everybody's been so friendly and so honest. It's reinvigorated me to just find my truth of why I'm here. You know, this is not an American Idol coaching session. We are totally going to talk about sales, and I have to do 30 seconds on why I'm here. You know, in 2001, I moved to New York City. I was going to be a Broadway performer, set down my bags. I actually booked my first audition for a Broadway show. E to get your gun for a year on the road, got my union card, booked a show at the Kennedy Center. I was going to sing for the president. And in 2006, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. I had walked into an emergency room, and not only did I have a primary tumor, but I had 9 tumors. When we pulled up a scan on a screen, filling my abdomen, the vena cava running to my heart, my left kidney. I was so strong and so young and so virile. It was such a shock to the system. And I immediately went into standard of care. We did as much chemo we could do. Cancer wasn't gone. We did this incredible surgery known as a retroperitoneal lymph node dissection, where they go pelvis to sternum. They take out all your digestive organs, they cut away your cancer, they put it back. It was a year of treatment, which led to me being cancer-free. And in this moment, I was like, okay, great. I'm going back to New York. Here's my come up. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to be the poster child for testicular cancer. I'm going to empower other young men to understand when we have pain. We ask questions, right? We empower ourselves to better know the body. And that wasn't my story. I went from 2006 to 2015, I had 5 different surgeries. I was rushed to the emergency room countless times. They would open up my chest, take out another foot of small bowel. In there, my immune system crashed. I had Lyme disease, heavy metal toxicity, fibromyalgia. I had this list of all the things that I had on my chart. It was incredible. I was sicker than anybody I know. A lot of my story turned around, and I flipped the page when I started to look at the body. I started to ask better questions. Was this going to be my story? You know, I started to learn through functional medicine, biological medicine, that I have regulatory systems within my body that can rebalance, regrow, repurpose, and can rebuild tissue. Scar tissue, which I could not go to the bathroom I can take a beautiful poop today. It's a walk in heaven. I mean, every single morning wake up, the depth of gratitude that colors this story could never have been achieved had I not walked through the valley of death. Now, I joke and say I built a condo there, but I really took away from that experience. I have this incredible passion for the therapies that you and I believe in so deeply. We know there's so much value. And I'm going to tell you what, it's so much easier to avert a crisis situation doing things like sleep hygiene, time and sunshine, float therapy, lymphatic drainage, cold therapy, sauna, than it is to go through late-stage metastatic cancer. I never want that for anybody else. So my whole mission is to be a guide. And I've worked in sales, oddly enough, when I started to have incredible success with things like pulse electromagnetics, red light therapy, contrast therapy, float therapy, I said, I have to be a voice for this. This is incredible. Off all pain medications, complete functionality. I have as much energy as anybody I know. It's really incredible to have a purpose-driven life. So one thing that I found is, oddly enough, I never would have told you I was going to go into sales. I did sales, marketing, consulting is really what I do today. And I've even my first company that I worked for, I think I did 2.5 million in sales my very first year. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was being the lighthouse for other people who were lost, and I was speaking from my heart. And I was really listening. You know, I found some great mentors along the way, and I would love to talk about how I can pull you towards some of the guides that I found. Zig Ziglar was one of the best. He said, dream it, do it. He didn't say dream it, strategize it. He said, dream it and do it. There's so much magic inside you. So if you can dream it, you can achieve it. You will get all you want in life if you can help enough people get what they want. It's so easy. The opposite of that, you know, when we think of sales and bottom line and meeting deadlines, there is a contraction in the body, there's a contraction in the psyche. I had an image of what I thought sales was supposed to be. I saw this guy. That's what I saw. I remember going to buy my first car, and I remember, it's like, God, this guy's energy is so intense. I want my first car. You know, he was pushing a model that didn't really, we told him it was the best thing, and oddly enough, I drove it off the lot. It was a lemon. 3 breakdowns later, I got to take back my Volkswagen Fox. But I learned a great lesson. In that. You know, sales is about energy. When I look at sales, I look at the 5 basic obstacles we have and having someone move forward into a decision. Every sale objection, the basic obstacles are no need, no money, no hurry, no desire, no trust. Does anybody have one that comes up for them? What really hits you? What are you responsible for in that dynamic? You can yell it out. Trust? I love that. I think that's very powerful. Trust hits me too. Every time I do this talk, it changes though. Trust, for sure. What about money? Man, when I started to look at what money is, or the construct of money, I used to have this vision. Do you remember DuckTales? I love DuckTales. I remember when Scrooge McDuck would jump into the bucket of money and swim in his gold ducats. And I was like, God, it was under lock and key. He wanted to hold it and keep it forever. Today, all I look at is money is access to a different experience. That's it. Personally, if I've allowed money to flow through me, to flow through my business, to invest in myself, more has come back. It's an energetic exchange if we really look at what money is. Access to other experiences. The other thing that comes up is desire. You know, has anybody been on Flowpresso that I'm here with in the corner? Run Flowpresso? Great, so I'm head of innovation for Flowpresso, full body lymphatic drainage, heat, compression, frequency technology, medical device. We talk about lymphatic drainage. A lot of times, and I never want to speak over somebody, people don't understand what that means. Your lymphatic system is every NK killer cell that's fighting cancer in that lymphatic system. That's how it accesses every cell in your body, through flow of lymphatics. It's how all dietary fats move through the body. We have 3 times as much fluid in the lymphatic system as we do blood. but there's no pump to drive it. We have that conversation and people are always like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. The only time people mention lymphatics to me was when my doctor says, oh, I'm so sorry your cancer spread there. Your doctor gets about 30 minutes on lymphatics. Some of these things it's up to us to be empowered and really educate on, because your primary care may not know. So sometimes that need or that desire is in that education. And I think that's such a great thing to hang your hat on at the end of the day. I want to show up, I want to educate. Because for me, really the mission, educate, empower, inspire. I say that every time I feel frustrated. Frustration for me is my out of alignment language. When I'm frustrated, have you ever done this and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make that person be another way, or I'm gonna change the rules of the game. At the end of the day, I gotta own my frustration. I gotta look at it as a signal, because it gives me immediate access to change. We're gonna go over a lot in a very short 13 and a half minutes. Oh my goodness. Modern landscape of sales, attunement, buoyancy, clarity, pitching and presentation, objections. We're gonna go over relationships. When I look at the modern landscape of sales, working as a sales consultant, what I see is generally people are overwhelmed with information really quickly. The conscious brain processes 40 to 50 bits of information per second. That's like reading the word the, and I'm a slow reader. My subconscious mind processes 20 million bits of information. A majority of me is running on a program. When we engage with other people, we have to know that. A lot of it is programming. I never understood that till yesterday. This is totally a sidebar. Promise I'll bring us back. But when we heal ourselves, have you ever heard someone say you heal 7 generations backwards? You are breaking the programs of the maladaptive behaviors that have led to you. And you're setting the next generation free. They're going to screw themselves up. It'll be theirs. Right? This is what it's about. We can free people. So in this information-rich world, it's getting into the heart, it's getting out of the head. I can talk datas and numbers and pressure and ROI till I'm blue in the face. But at the end of the day, I really want people to experience a better quality of life. And so I will speak to the therapy in that regards. Attunement, when I'm talking to another human being, it's really understanding the importance of active listening. I see this all the time when I get on with companies to do consulting calls and their sales team. And I want to say this too, but if we don't get to this in the end, everybody in your entity, in your company, is sales. If we don't have sales, we don't have a business. And this is the one thing that I hear reflected to me a lot. Is like, well, I can sell it, my wife can sell it, but my staff is really bad at it. That's only going to go so far. And so there has to be that conversation. I promise, and I would tell anybody, when you pick up this skill, you are going to do so well in life. But it's really being able to attune and listen. So we have 2 ears, we have 1 mouth, speak and listen respectively. I always want to ask people what's going on, what hurts, what's awful. If you had a magic wand, what would you change? I'm not going to shoot all over you. I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I just want to know what's working, what isn't. And ask better questions. For me, that is a really quick way to attune to a customer. If I think about buoyancy, I think about how am I staying positive? Because maintaining a positive attitude in the face of rejection, it's really hard to hear no again and again and again. That was something that I got very used to in music theater. Hundreds and hundreds of auditions where I'd walk in, there'd be 500 people. We need one guy. And my mom was always like, I don't know how you do this. I could never do that. And it really is beautiful how, sometimes people say, I did this career, it didn't work out, then it did this. I'm like, it all set you up for now. If you let it roll into you, if you let it be in your heart, it all sets you up for now. So this idea of neutralizing the attachment to a result. How can I show up as a natural role of service? My sole objective, again, being educate, empower, inspire. That's it. And I got to interview Dr. Emily. If you haven't listened to the Beautifully Broken podcast, I think you should episode 206. It was a wonderful, wonderful episode. I had so much great feedback on it. People said, oh my God, I forgot about floating. I had no idea. The magnesium and the idea that the brain can develop this maladaptive response in which it's taking a majority of what it thinks about itself from the visual processing field. It was such an expansive moment. You know, it was so expansive. And there were so many people that reached out. I feel really empowered to go try a float again. You know, it was really nice, and I see that. It plays out. It is the attitude. You know, in my experience, it's the attitude, not your aptitude, which will determine your altitude in sales. If you can just keep in that heart space, keep that positivity. It's a great musical number. Here, I don't have time. Does anybody know Little Mermaid? Yeah. Positivity from Little Mermaid on Broadway is a great song. We're not going to do it. I really want to talk about clarity. So it's the art of problem solving. When I do one-on-one with the people, and they say, well, how am I closing? How am I getting people? It's all you're doing is problem solving. That's it. Again, it's really doing that active listening. It's identifying pain points. It's identifying a challenge, whether that's money. One of the problem solvings I'll talk to people a lot is funding. You know, whether it's a home device, it's $9,000 PEMF device, or it's a $13,000 lymphatic drainage system. If money's the objection, we talk about money. Let's talk about the ROI. You know, that tech out there, I have a lot of practitioners paid off in 13 weeks. It's a really quick ROI. Another conversation is like a home unit. I had people do ice baths at home, and we looked at what they were paying, not only to go do a session at a center, we looked at the travel time, we looked at gas. And then another thing I love to look at for people is their car. I'm like, what do you drive? They're like, oh, I drive a Lexus LSV521. You know, some of these cars that, you know, I'm like, how much was it? $65,000. That car sits in your driveway for 98% of its life. We really don't prioritize health. And I drop that everywhere I can. Where do you free up funds? What's serving you? How much is the car serving you? If it gets you to where you want to be, this is the thing that people don't face until they've been through real late-stage chronic illness. I've had all that taken away. My car is not a priority. I want to be warm. I want to go from A to B. But it's a great example where, as Americans, we get into debt on things that are keeping us under this ceiling. And then we scream we don't have enough money for healthcare. There is no healthcare here. It's a system to manage your maladies and your sickness, and that's okay. You can only stay frustrated at that so long, where you have to step away and say, what am I going to do to empower myself today? So it's really asking better questions again. That's the heart of it. I love this foot. A guy limped past my apartment. It was brand new in Austin, Texas. A guy limped past my apartment. And I was like, hey, buddy, what's wrong with the ankle? He's like, sprained it in the pool, drank a bunch of beers. I was like, get in here. I brought it into my house, busted out a PEMF coil, put it on his ankle, said, come tomorrow. In 2 days, ankle's completely normalized. No swelling, no nothing. You know, we became lifelong friends, but I have so many of these stories, right? I have so many, be it the person who had plaque eczema all over their shins, and they bought a red light panel, and the plaque psoriasis was gone. Or someone who had neurological tremors in their hands. You know, they started to do a couple therapies. They did a sleep hygiene protocol. They changed their diet. They started gratitude journaling. And people will send me, Freddie, I'm not shaking anymore. You know, we never know. We never know. And if you just keep doing it, I promise you. So we said this a couple times in the last presentation. It's like document the wins. Because there is no Google ad that will generate business like that person. It doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. How do you capture that story? What's the quality in which that story lands? I got a couple people here. I was like, can we bust out my microphone? I could put that on. Whereas one woman went crazy. Somebody went crazy. They were like, oh my God, this thing's amazing. It's the best warm hug I've ever had. I was like, can you hold that thought? Can we just do that? Because you hear it again and again and again. I had one guy get off the table one time. He goes, this is how I want to die. I won't run that on Google retargeting. However, that's fascinating. and I'm going to text it to some people. I'm going to text this to some people. So I am always, again, vulnerably. And you know what it is? It's not the norm. It's not the norm to look to these things, these therapies, these natural bioregulatory therapies like Flow, like Roxiva, like the Vibe Bed, like Flowpresso. People are like, oh, Flow who? They don't know. We have a responsibility to share, in my opinion, in my experience. And I really do think, you know what you're doing? You're just grabbing people out of the water and pulling them onto the boat. And isn't it funny, the couple people, does anybody have any friends they pulled into the boat of wellness and they're like more wild than you are about it? Has anybody ever had a client that's had a transformational experience that you started them on and they brought you like 6 or 7 people in? Those are the people to focus on, and they're out there. They're out there. All of you are just kicking the start plug. That's it. The objections, again, handling objections, value timing, offering. A lot of times for me it's reframing. I think it's reframing. It's like, what does that mean to you? Does anybody have a common objection they get? They want to test? Anybody? You don't have the time. Anybody else? Claustrophobia, that's a great one. That's a great one. We have one down here. I have to ask, oh, that's a good one.
Gotta wait and see how I feel.
Gotta wait and see how I feel. Yeah.
I would be alone with myself.
Oh, boy. I know, it's hard. I tell you what, it's right on the edge. And what I would tell a business owner is that you can't be afraid to lean in a little bit. A lot of times I'll ask people, before you get in your car, why don't you just take a walk around the block? Tell me how the sunshine feels. What's the air feel like? Does your body feel different? Do your joints feel any different? If you can get people back into their body, that's a great one. And I am a firm believer in incentivizing people to follow through in being a participant in their own improvement. There was for a long time I ran the Institute of Functional Health Coaching, and they asked me to run sales. They're like, how are you getting all these clients? I was like, I'm paying them. True story, I had a course. My course was $1,500, 12 weeks. If you do all the work, if you do all the assignments, if you show up for yourself for 12 weeks, and you do the work, and you do everything that I've said, you gotta complete this video, you're gonna journal, you're gonna drink water. In 12 weeks, if you do the work and you're unhappy, I'm gonna pay you $500 just for finishing. If you're really happy, you can pay. I can keep the $500. I'm gonna give it to the next person who's on the edge. And I paid them to show up for themselves. That's a really powerful incentive model for the human mind. Price. Who said price? Price. I really do. I talk a lot about where I'm allocating funds. What's important to you. I think a lot of times when we look at the body, we look at the currency of energy. We look at vibrancy. When we feel good, when we're vibrating at a higher frequency, salaries go up. People make more money, more opportunities to come in. I manifested last week. This is a really quick story. Last week, I said to myself, I was like, man, I could really use like $30K for like a PR agent. I had been invested in a crypto firm 2 years ago called Voyager, which went insolvent. Lost all the money. Yesterday, I got a call from my friend Kathy in Connecticut. She says, Freddie, there's a check here for $27,896. It really does work. If you take your thought and your dream and we put it down on a piece of paper and you keep doing it, you will see opportunities show up. I promise, I promise, I promise. I'm gonna do one more. The relationship building for me is really strong. We talked about getting people to leave their experience. We talked about getting people to leave testimonials. I check up on people after they've purchased equipment for me in a couple months. I make sure they go through the training. I make sure they did their portion of the educational homework to onboard correctly. We check in 6 months. When we have new assets, new marketing materials, new things to accelerate business, we'll send them out in an email. One thing I'd say about relationship building, never assume anyone gets your emails. I have found that to be so true. Email, it performs so poorly if you're tracking emails in your world. I'm almost done with my time here. I gotta close with a puppy and ice. I just want to say that it's timing. It's really people are ready when they are ready. We're not going to force people to move forward with a package or to a choice for wellness, really and truly. There's one quote that I love on here: the sale begins when the customer says no. All I'm doing is getting people stoked, excited. I'm giving them moments of education to latch onto. I'm hoping that something in that 20 million bytes of subconscious falls away, and I'm really hoping they lean into the present moment where I am trying to connect with them in the heart. My name is Freddie Kimmel, Beautifully Broken Podcast. Come see me at Flowpresso if you have more questions. It says 49 more seconds. Oh, my purple seconds. So I still have time. Do we want a question, or should we do one more song? Okay. Right, here we go. Great, so we're all going to sing together, okay? I'm going to prompt you. Ooh, do we want to sing together, or do you want to sing with me on a chorus? With me on a chorus, great. All right, let me think here. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. 1, 2, 3. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Come on, get it. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my